For the first fight at UFC 315 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, we got Begzat Almakhan taking on Brad Katona in the bantamweight division. I have been waiting for Begzat to return to the octagon for a while now, since he only has one fight inside of the UFC, and it was about against the best bantamweight, Umar Nurmagomedov. He was even able to catch him with a flash knockdown, but that was all he got, because other than the first 30 seconds where that knockdown happened, he got mauled. And it looked like he was hit by a bus, because he lost the fight by decision, with the judges scoring it like 30-26 for Umar. The thing about that fight was that Umar had to take him down to maul him, and any moment on the feet was in favor of Begzat, which shows the level of striker he is. On top of that, he has some great highlights from his fights before the UFC where he showed great striking. Brad Katona is a decent grappler, but he has pretty stinky stand-up and got beat by Garrett Armfield, who is a very mid-bottom of the barrel fighter, and Begzat could easily smoke Armfield in the striking. So my pick for this fight is going to be Begzat to win by decision, because Brad Katona usually doesn't go down without a fight. We got Bruno Silva taking on Marc-Andre Barriault at the end of the early prelims for this Canada card, and I think that the choice for this fight is going to be clear. Bruno Silva is washed and has looked like shit ever since he fought Alex Pereira, and he must have used all his chin, grit, and heart in that fight, because he has looked very mentally checked out of fighting ever since that fight. I don't know how he even managed to TKO Brad Tavares, because Tavares is a decent fighter who still looks pretty decent on the feet minus the danger in his hands. Mark is coming off of a very bad KO loss, though, against Joe Pyfer, where he was put out cold and face planted when he was back to the fence, but I can't even put the blame on his chin or anything, because Joe Pyfer broke the punch record, and he took that record from Francis Ngannou, so it's fair enough. Mark always comes in there to bring a fight in the pocket and swing some big hooks in the phone booth, which is why most of his fights are pretty exciting. Anyway, my pick for this is for Marc-Andre Barriault to win by decision in a 29-28 fight, because he has the style where he might get caught in a round, so I think he is still going to win the decision, but ain't nobody getting knocked out. We got two absolute marauders on the feet making an exciting matchup in the light heavyweight division. Ion Cutelaba is currently hitting a second prime, it feels like, because he just had one of the biggest wins of his career came in his last fight when he was able to outclass, outstrike, and submit Ibo Aslan, who was seen as highly valued prospect with a lot of upside. Cutelaba was able to submit him with an arm triangle in round 1 and showed he still has what it takes, and it is a shock to me that he is only 31 years old. Cutelaba has a tough task in front of him, though, because Modestas Bukauskas has made some improvements in his game and is currently on a 2 or 3 fight win streak right now. I feel like there is a good chance that Cutelaba is going to look for the takedown to secure a position and maybe some ground and pound strikes, and when he does that, I have a feeling that Modestas might jump a guillotine, and it could lead to the end for him, because Cutelaba is a very solid grappler in the 205-pound division, considering there isn't much to pick from. So my final pick for this fight is for Ion Cutelaba to win the fight via ground and pound in round 2. We got Jasmine Jasudavicius taking on Jessica Andrade this weekend, UFC 315, Montreal, Canada. Jasmine Jasudavicius is a -215 or -270 favorite against Andrade. This is pretty surprising, because she's the lower-ranked fighter, but she's also one of 2 of Canada's biggest prospects and hopes right now, and both of Canada's best fighters are in women's divisions, with Gillian Robertson, who will be top 10 in the 115-pound division now after a win versus Marina Rodriguez, and also right now, Jasmine, at 125 pounds. So this fight's very interesting, because Jessica Andrade has some nasty power in her hands and the ability to finish fights, which is something that is considered rare in the women's divisions, especially the lightest weight class. But the thing is that she's very old, dude. She's gone through many wars, taking a lot of damage, and we're not sure if she can do the same. She's only known for having big power. Her takedown defense is not known to be very solid, so I believe that Jasmine Jasudavicius is gonna win this fight. I think she's gonna manage to take her down and show the strength difference versus the smaller fighter. Jessica Andrade is fighting at 125 pounds, as she was 115 pounds before and looked better at 115. So I think Jasmine will take her down, outmuscle her, and I think she's gonna submit her sometime in the second round with a rear naked choke or something. For the feature prelim, they'll be capping off UFC 315 prelims and finishing off before we move to the main card. We have Mike Malott taking on Charles Radke now. Mike Malott lost recently. I think 2 fights ago, he had a loss against Neil Magny, which was rather poor because he was winning and dominating probably 13 minutes of the fight and then randomly gassed out. That gave Neil Magny the chance to get on his back, flatten him out, and finish the fight with a minute left, because it created a perfect opportunity for a comeback for him. Since then, Mike has had another fight. He won that fight, but he didn't look the same. He didn't look like he had the same finishing ability or hunger to finish the fight. He looked a bit scared after his TKO loss to Neil Magny. So I'm not sure what to expect in this fight. But Charles Radke is not that creative of a fighter. And although Canadians are known for not winning fights in Canada, like the records are even pretty terrible, I think, well, I still won't let that affect my prediction for the fight, whether it be on the feet or the ground. I think Mike Malott has a choice on where he can finish this fight, whether it be submission or TKO. Just for the potential he had previously, I think he can regain his confidence and become the old Mike Malott. So that is why I'm going to pick him to win this fight by first round TKO. To kick off the main card, we have Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Kyle Propolek, and to be honest, this is one of the most lopsided fights I've seen in a very long time. This fight was originally supposed to be Benoit Saint-Denis fighting Joel Alvarez, and Joel Alvarez is a very good fighter. He was a favorite over Benoit, but now we have a nobody filling in on short notice, looking for the opportunity of a lifetime. That's Michael Chandler looking, motherfucking, is like a huge underdog because Benoit has ballooned to over a -1,300 favorite, which I don't think I've even seen that many fights with odds like that. So it's pretty crazy on this one. That just shows how lopsided it is. But I think there's even still a chance for Kyle because they showed Benoit signing posters for Media Day, and he had a black eye. He had a couple of marks swollen up right on his face. The guy looked like he got beat up, which means he didn't have a good fight camp. So, either way, though, I think there's a big skill difference here because when we last saw Benoit fight, he fought the likes of Dustin Poirier and Renato Moicano. Meanwhile, I don't think I can name a single fight from the other guy. So my prediction for this fight is for Benoit Saint-Denis to come out swinging and look to finish this fight in the first round by TKO. For the second fight on the main card of UFC 315 in Montreal, we got a former champion in Alexa Grasso taking on a rising contender in Natalia Silva. This is a very interesting matchup stylistically because Natalia Silva has good stand-up, which is because she has a very good kicking game, while Alexa Grasso has her base in boxing and likes to throw hands while also having some nice BJJ. I mean, you have to have elite BJJ to submit someone like the women's MMA GOAT Valentina Shevchenko. One thing that shocked me about this fight is that they have Alexa Grasso as a +200 underdog or something like that, which is crazy because she was a champion and she was in 3 title fights where her record was 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss. One thing that Natalia Silva has going for her is her defense. Her defense is listed at 64%, and she only gets hit about twice per minute with significant strikes, which pales in comparison to the 5 big strikes per round that she lands, showing that her ability to keep the distance and use her kicks is very good. I don't think anybody is going to get a finish in this fight, so I'm going to make my pick for this fight be Natalia Silva to win by decision because she is a really good point fighter. And she will just beat Alexa Grasso by volume of strikes even if Alexa Grasso thinks about putting some heat into her punches. She would also be next in line to face the winner of Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot if she is to win this fight. I'm currently writing this prediction video on Friday before UFC 315, and I have just seen that the bout between Ayman Zahabi and Jose Aldo has been moved to featherweight because one of the parties could not make 135. Reports also came out saying Zahabi was 138.8 before being told the bout was moved to 145, which means Jose Aldo could not make the weight, and that greatly affects who I think is going to win this fight. My original prediction for this fight was going to be Aldo to win by decision because I thought he would have stopped the mediocre stand-up of Zahabi and beat him on the feet. But now I don't think that is going to happen. I think Jose Aldo is going to gas out again like he did in Salt Lake City, and I think the weight draining he does to try and get to 135 is going to take an effect on his body, and he won't be able to defend off Zahabi like he would if he were in full health. I think everyone knows by now that Aldo has the worst clinch defense in the UFC, which makes his takedown defense useless because Zahabi will shoot takedowns just to bring him to the fence the same way Merab, Bautista, and Volk did it. I honestly think that Aldo's brain must be thrown out the window whenever he gets to the fence because he never tries to get off. My official prediction for the fight is Zahabi to win by decision because he will have a smart game plan, and he will have Firas Zahabi and Georgia St. Pierre in his corner as well. In the co-main event for UFC 315, we have the real women's MMA GOAT fighting, and her name is Valentina Shevchenko, not Nunes. Valentina has been the most dominant champ in the history of women's MMA with 7 successive titles title defenses, with the betting odds of some of her fights being up to -1,200. She only lost the first fight versus Grasso because the second should have been scored her way instead of a draw, and she won 50-45 in the last battle. She has elite-level kickboxing and elite-level wrestling, which is crazy but shows why she is pound for pound number one. Manon Fiorot looked very good in her last fight, where she dismantled Erin Blanchfield's grappling and picked her apart to a 50-45. I think part of the reason why she has been so good at flyweight is because she is bigger than everyone else and had a tough cut to 126, but she has made weight healthy this time for the championship bout. So maybe she changed some things in her diet. I'm very surprised to see that they have Manon Fiorot as a favorite because Valentina Shevchenko is the best fighter everywhere, with the only fear being her age, since she is 37 years old now. I think her age has slowed down her finishing ability, but my pick for this fight will still be Valentina Shevchenko to win, but by decision. The GOAT is here. Remember, the name is going to completely outclass Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, he has hands like Canelo, so Belal is going to show why he is the greatest UFC welterweight of all time. If we're being serious, we know that Belal will look to take this fight to the ground because that is where he has the best chance of winning. He is going to take him down, and eventually, I think Belal is going to wear on Jack because of the constant pressure and having to hold Belal's weight. I think the only real downside of this fight is that it decides the future of the lightweight division, and Jack winning would mean we get to see Islam go up and challenge at 170. Meanwhile, if we see Belal win this fight, we get to see the best fight of the last 7 years, which would be Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. The only thing Jack really has going for him is that Belal is super old, but my prediction for this fight is going to be Belal to win by decision.